On first down, they hand off to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, INDY. And again, it's picked off. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with a second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go. A pick six for the Maniac. Kenny Moore gets to Deshaun Watson. That's a sack for Kenny Moore. Kenny has a pick and now a sack in the game.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
The Indianapolis Colts made a trade. They traded former second rounder in 2017, Quincy Wilson, in the 6th round to the New York Jets for the 211th pick. And with the 211th pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Isaiah Rodgers, cornerback from UMass. Derek, before we get into Rodgers, let's talk really quickly on Quincy Wilson, a guy with a lot of potential, a guy that I was rooting for, and now he's a New York Jet. What are your thoughts here on Quincy Wilson being traded from the Colts?
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see him go. We all had some pretty decent hopes for Quincy Wilson when he was drafted. I mean, certainly worth the second-round pick at the time. Just, didn't quite appreciate the spot that he was put in for the Colts, I guess, and was just put in a bad situation, or he put himself there. And, ultimately things just didn't work out. He didn't necessarily put all his work into it, but, again, another Indianapolis Colts corner finds a home in New York. So, Quincy, we thank you for your time that you were here. Sorry that it didn't work out, but we wish you I wish you the best for your future success. Hopefully you'll find a little bit more success in New York, and Lord knows they could probably use you.
Yeah, it's a real bummer, man. Quincy Wilson was a guy that I thought was kind of coming into his own there after he had a pretty solid 2018 season. I was like, maybe this is now Quincy Wilson is in the right mindset. Maybe it's his time to shine and live up to that second-round potential. But it just never worked out. And unfortunately for a guy like Quincy Wilson, he's just a guy that can never get out of his own head. Seems like he can never get out of the doghouse of the coaches. A guy that is uber talented. And so if he can get it figured out, I hope him the best in New York. And maybe it'll help him. There's a couple former Colts there, Pierre Desir, Nate Hairston, who I believe is still there, and then Matthias Farley. So there's a lot of connections. I hope that Quincy can figure it out. But for the Colts, they had to move on. They just can't afford to wait on him taking up a roster spot, especially since he did not play special teams for the Colts. You just can't keep him on the roster. And so the Colts draft seemingly his replacement here in Isaiah Rodgers, cornerback out of University of Massachusetts. He's 5'10", 170 pounds, so a little bit smaller corner, probably more of a slot type of cornerback. Derek, what are your thoughts here on Isaiah Rodgers?
Yeah, Isaiah Rodgers, not a whole lot that we really know about him. A lot of misinformation out there. But I will say this. Here's a tweet that I saw from Joel Erickson. I want to make sure that I get it. I'll have to look that up. But he was talking about Isaiah Rodgers, and here it is. So 15 minutes ago on here. Isaiah Rodgers had an ex-NFL scout track his pro day, and he timed him at a 4.28 in the 40. Now, if that's true, then oh my goodness, this kid is fast. But yeah, like you said, the size is a little concerning. 5'10", 170 kind of goes against what normally Ballard has said about his corners. So which makes me think that there's something about him that is appealing to Ballard that none of us are really understanding right now until we talk to Isaiah and find out more. But again, it just adds more depth. Obviously, Quincy Wilson being gone, you needed another corner to help out. So you're just adding more depth at the corner position. So I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, he's a guy, that there's just adds to that depth. He's probably not going to really see the field. He can be a guy that can help you out on special teams, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so overall, I'm okay with the pick. I felt like you needed to take a corner at some point in this draft, and the Colts do it here in the sixth round, 211th with Isaiah Rodgers. So just another depth guy who will be interesting to see as we learn more about him and just a little bit about kind of where he came from, to see if he can make any sort of impact with the Colts, whether that be special teams or maybe eventually, who knows? We'll just have to see on that. And the Colts had the 212th pick, and they stayed pat and selected another wide receiver, which we predicted the Colts were going to select 2 wide receivers. We said they needed to do it. They select Dezmon Patmon. I think I'm saying it right. Patmon out of Washington State. Big body wide receiver, similar to Denzel Mims, same height, around the same size, really. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. He's a guy that last year he had played in all 13 games. He had 58 catches, 762 yards, over 13 yards per catch. He had 8 touchdowns. And he actually finished 4th in the Pac-12 in receiving touchdowns. Derek, what are your thoughts here on a bigger body guy the Colts get here in the 6th round in Patmon?
I mean, just look at the size of this guy. 6'4", 225 pounds. That's bigger than Pittman, okay? Almost 33-inch arms, over 10-inch hands. This guy is huge. And then you look at these numbers. You look at this 40-yard dash time, under a 4.5, ran a 4.48. That's really good. Vertical jump, 36 inches, and had a broad jump of 11 feet. I mean, this guy is incredible as an athlete. The only issue you have is he's not very strong, which is odd for a guy of his size, but only bench pressed 15 reps at the combine at 225. But basically, again, your Colts are going all in here with big body wide receivers that can go up and get the ball. I'm sure Phillip Rivers is smiling to himself. Again, big target, size and strength to basically take on corners. Route running is pretty decent. Sneaks up on corners with some build-up speed. Ball skills, pretty much show themselves. You just go look at the tape. Basically a stock blocker. That's really good. That's a good thing to have. It says feet are a little too heavy, though. He's a 1-speed route runner, which basically means he runs at the same speed for every route. Doesn't always, and that can sometimes hurt when you're trying to do different routes, especially stuff that is short and underneath routes. He struggles with some focus drops. It's not quite similar to Pittman. Pittman's different in that aspect. But again, stuff that you can fix with his route running and some of his focusing issues. But oh my goodness, the size of this guy and just the athletic attributes of him that makes this very, very, very intriguing.
Mm-hmm. It does. And you're giving Phillip Rivers more weapons. You mentioned you already drafted Michael Pittman, draft Jonathan Taylor, so giving him another running back. And then, you draft this guy here and another big body wide receiver, which we know Phillip Rivers has thrived with. He likes those type of guys. And it just adds depth to that wide receiver position. So now you got Pittman, you got T.Y. Hilton, Zach Pascal, Paris Campbell, Patmon now, Reese Fountain maybe. Reese also brought back Marcus Johnson. Ashton Doolin played some snaps for you. So it's going to be an interesting battle for this wide receiver group. You're just adding more competition. We know how much Ballard loves competition in all of his positions. And so it'll be interesting to see, does Patmon make an impact? He's certainly got the physical tools to be a good red zone threat for the Colts offense along with Michael Pittman. So it'll be interesting to see, does he make an impact here? And does he, is he a project guy that you can stash away on your practice squad and see if you can cash into some of those physical tools? But okay, so the last guy on our list here, the Colts, one more. The last pick they had there at 213, they selected Michigan linebacker / safety Jordan Glasgow. Derek, what are your thoughts here on Glasgow? He's a guy that's 6'1", 226 pounds. He played both safety and linebacker. So he's a guy that can kind of be position flexible, probably will be more of an in-box safety if he does play safety for you.
Yeah.
He's a guy that actually, he's credited for his hard work. He's a very hard worker type of guy, very high football IQ guy. He was actually considered by Pro Football Focus and ranked as the best tackler in this draft in the linebackers. What are your thoughts here on this type of guy, getting him here with your last pick, presumably, unless the Colts do something and trade back in of the NFL draft?
Yeah, so just kind of looking at his bio, he was mainly a special teams ace for Michigan when he was there, especially to start out his career. And everybody knows that Chris Ballard, Frank Reich, and those guys love special teams guys. They rave about them all the time, that they'll make rosters if they know how to play special teams. Played all 13 games as a redshirt freshman and as a sophomore, and he earned the team's special teams player of the year award. And then as a junior, he was a multi-time academic all district selection. And he played the Viper position a lot, racked up 28 stops. And Glasgow took over a permanent job in his senior year where he racked up 89 tackles, 7 for a loss, 5 sacks, 2 pass breakups, and a blocked kick. So he definitely is a multi-purpose kind of guy here that can play both positions. Like you mentioned earlier, he's got boundless energy and he's just naturally fearless, just loves to snap on people. They actually said that he likes to use his head too much. So that's kind of an issue. He's going to need to fix that. But again, that's something you can teach. Had 27 career special team tackles. So definitely, again, somebody that can play special teams and definitely has a good IQ there. Plays aggressive and plays tough. Technique with his hands is really good. Able to get off big blockers because of him being 230 pounds. But, with that, though, he is undersized as a linebacker, but he's also a little too big to sometimes be a safety. So you're right. He would be in that box form. Arm length is a little short. He just has limitations when it comes to his size, and athletically, he's not that amazing. Again, his instincts are better than his athleticism allows him to be. But again, a very smart player, a guy that can play special teams. I can definitely see, if he works hard to get himself a little faster, maybe drops a few pounds, he could actually, be a really good special teams player for this team and could potentially, see himself playing, like you said, a box safety kind of role in that Viper position in the box for defense a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like you notice a trend here with some of these later picks with this guy. And then there was and it just seems like in this 6th round and in the 5th round also, a lot of the picks were guys who give great effort, guys who are relentless in their motors. And I think that's I noticed that trend there that the Colts had with this selection, obviously. And obviously the other one as well, which name is totally escaping me right now. But check out the other video. It's been a long day. It's been a long couple days with this NFL draft. You'll have to forgive me. But yeah, overall, I think these guys could potentially, add something to the Colts special teams right away. And who knows, maybe they can develop into solid role players for the Colts. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see now what these rookies provide for the Colts. The Colts said they wanted more picks. They got more picks. And now they have a slew of players here. We'll see what they contribute to the Colts right away. See how many make the active roster here when training camp and the preseason is done, and see who stands out and see who's cut by the end of the preseason. But all right, that'll do it for this podcast. Thanks, guys, so much for listening. It's been a tremendous week of covering the NFL draft. We started last Thursday. We've gone all the way through now, and we can't thank you guys enough just for all your support and all your love for us. It's certainly been a lot of fun being able to cover the NFL draft. And Derek, I know you're tired. I'm tired. You guys are probably tired from watching the draft and probably excited because I know for me, I was up last night watching Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman highlights, so I barely got any sleep. So I'm kind of running on fumes right now. But I hope you guys enjoyed our coverage. We certainly enjoyed providing it for you guys. It'll be interesting now. We'll probably come out with a podcast at some point soon, kind of recapping all of the picks. We're going to get our buddy Zach Hicks on to kind of discuss all of the picks. So, for Derek and myself, thank you guys for your support, as always. And as always, go Colts.